one of our special guest couples for the marriage conference here at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship for 2018, Tim and Juliette Ross, that passes in Irving, Texas, and we're glad to have you. Come on, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Good to see you too.
Tell us the name of your church.
Huh?
Tell us the name of
Oh,
your church.
I'm so sorry. Embassy City Church is the name of the church.
How'd you get that name?
I was at a hotel in Sydney, Australia, having the worst nachos I've ever had in my entire life. And that's when the Holy Spirit spoke to me about the name of the church.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great.
It was actually just embassy at the time.
Yeah, it was just
Embassy
embassy.
at the
That's right.
time.
That's
Wow.
right.
So, you came to this year's conference as our guest. You ministered to the folks. Tell us some of the key highlights of your point and how you felt about being here.
Well, first of all, we were so honored
Yes.
to be here with you all and to really take marriages and root them more in the biblical foundation that it needs to be.
Yeah.
Our session was on guarding the heart. And so I shared my testimony about being molested at 8 years old and being exposed to pornography at 12, and how having an unguarded heart led to trouble in our marriage.
For sure.
And then having those parameters put back in place, those biblical principles that help to guard my heart, help to guard our marriage as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Give us a few tips of how that happened. How did that work?
Well,
How did you make that adjustment?
Yeah, well, you know what? He had to actually work. And the thing is, we're talking about, words mean something. Okay, I'm saying sorry and all that, that's fine. But you actually have to do work. I said, he's the most counseled man I know.
Okay.
He's been to counseling and he is constantly going to constantly better himself, to show action along with your verbal promises.
Yes.
And so our session today talked about basically guarding your heart. And we just said how, it seems like, you guard your heart from someone that hurts you, but it's really guarding your heart from allowing the enemy to come in. And so you don't guard your heart from your spouse.
Right.
You open your heart to your spouse, but you guard it from the enemy to try to contaminate that.
Hey, that's powerful.
Good.
Thanks.
We're excited to have you. Thank you for being with us and for enhancing this year's marriage.
Thank you for having me.
Here's a question, though, before we let y'all go, that I have for you.
Okay.
You talked about you're not supposed to guard your heart from yourself. And I was like, oh, yeah, that oneness. See, sometimes we're not a team.
Right.
Sometimes we become, let me guard my heart from you.
Yeah.
But it's from the enemy. The question is, though, how did you get yourself to do that when he was the one having that issue that offended you?
Yeah, for sure.
Because obviously there's an offense that you feel like it's against me. So how do I practically not guard my heart against you?
Yeah, so here's really how I looked at it. At the time, this is his issue, right? This is how he's manifesting his hurt and his pain and his issue. And I've always been one that knew where I stood in Christ. So my value and my validation was not in Tim ever, nor was it in our marriage. I always knew who my father was, and that's who my roots and my foundation was in. And so when Tim would make a mistake, or if he would have a recurring issue, I was just like, that's you. That's not me. And so, but I'm gonna pray you through it. So I didn't take an offense that way. Yeah, I was mad, but if I cut the emotion side out, and then I connect with my Father in heaven and get on my knees and say, Father, what do you want me to do? Then there's that line that sort of separates it, because there's an emotional side that we can get all erratic, and that's why I had the bag packed, all right? That was just my human emotion side. But I knew what the Father had, and I knew what he said, and I said, Lord, help me to help us heal together. And that's what it was. So I didn't find my validation in him. So it was easier for me to sort of handle it because I always went back to my roots, and that was my father. There was there's an old hymn that's actually one of my favorites. Many people love Great Is Thy Faithfulness, which is true. But actually one of my favorite hymns is, on Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. And that's every other grounds of emotions, grounds of marriage. Only Christ was the solid rock that I stood on in everything. And so when he gave me my strength, I was able to handle the other things that came up. Did that help?
Yes.
Sort of? A little
Yes.
bit? If it didn't, don't lie.
Yeah,
Tell me the
no,
truth.
no, absolutely. Because one thing that you said, Tim, was, and people, it was deep. You know, I don't know if everybody, it came around the corner with everybody because it was simple. You said your words can help heal you.
That's right.
And you have to talk to yourself.
You have to talk. Yeah.
I be in my marriage talking about,
All the time.
I have to talk and when I give myself that time in
Yeah.
the spirit and
Yeah.
in prayer, you can talk your emotions down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So that you can come back to the situation
That's absolutely correct.
spiritually, the
Yes.
person
Yes.
who, as the person who God. So what kind of words did you have to use when you had your bags packed?
Yeah.
Or how did you talk yourself down?
Yeah. So I really just talked to the Father. I said, Lord, the main thing in my life is I always want to do what He wants me to do. I just want to be pleasing to my Father. This is just the relationship that I have. And I didn't want to do anything that would displease Him, not displease Him, that would displease Him. And so I cannot move if I don't have a peace. It doesn't matter what my emotions are saying. They're very fickle. They change. They're not something that I stand on. Because I could be happy one minute and sad the next. Emotions are one of the most unstable things. So they're not anything that I stand on. So when I can put those aside, at the end of the day, no matter how mad, sad, or happy I get, Father, did I please you today? What am I supposed to be doing today? I want you to help me to guard my heart in this day, and I want to be pleasing to you. That's why I never left, because I never had the peace to go. I never had the green light to go from the Father. Okay? My emotions said it, but my emotions don't govern me. They just don't. They don't govern me. But my relationship with Him does. And so with that, it was like, you can handle it. And then I think of all the things that Jesus had to endure on the cross, and He didn't give up. And I said, my situation is nowhere close to what He did.
Absolutely.
And of course, I can stay in this. If this was before me, I can do it too.
That's good. That's good. Y'all give it up for Tim and Juliette. Stand on your feet. Give it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having us.